working on the front. Last time I got everything powder coated. Unfortunately, it's been probably over a year since I worked on this part for various reasons. So, I'm trying to remember how to put it back together. So that should be fun. So I'm going to get some of the parts down. I think I've got to put a new ends on these. So why don't we start with that? Okay. These are the control wires for, one of them is a tilt sensor. And when I took the bucket off, it accidentally got crushed. So, whoops. So let's put something down to make us a little more comfortable. I guess let's start by looking at the parts. So here is one of the powder coated parts. So, we know we need to put that back on. I believe it's the last part, so let's keep working. We have the blocks and the cap to hold cables on. These guys. Yeah, this got totally smashed, so we're going to replace that. Luckily, I found these same parts on McMaster car. So, test fit the new one. It worked. What I should do is I should mark these cables so I know what I'm working with. So there's one. Will serve as the top right. So let's cut that off and get started.
So these connectors were pretty straightforward to get on here. I wanted to make sure that these would stay on here pretty well, so I decided to solder them on. I believe you can crimp them on, but I just wanted to guarantee that I was going to have a good connection and I wouldn't have any corrosion issues. So went the extra step. It's easy to do now rather than try to troubleshoot later. So strip these wires. I soldered and tinned the wire first, and then I put a little solder in the connector and then soldered it together. What's nice is these have a little silicone seal around the connector, so it's pretty easy to put on even if you forget to put that on first before sliding the connector through it. So you can order these parts directly from CAT, but I decided to go with McMaster Car. These were pretty standard parts and pretty easy to find McMaster's website once I figured out the pin diameter and spacing. I'll put the links in the description so you guys don't have to find it yourself. Now for me, the benefit from ordering from McMaster Car was twofold. One is I got the product quicker, and two, I got the product for less money. So one of the greatest benefits to ordering from McMaster Car in the Los Angeles area is if you're in their same day delivery zone, which is fantastic. You get the parts either that same day or next day for pretty much the same charge as regular post, so that's great. So on these big connectors, I ended up using a little bit of flux to help the solder flow, and then I used my portable butane torch so I get enough heat into them to melt the solder. My little handheld solder gun just wasn't able to heat them up fast enough for me. As a reminder, when I took this cylinder off the Caterpillar, I found that it was wired directly to Caterpillar with these very janky connections, so I wanted to replace that with what the original connector should have been. Now I took a pretty educated guess on which of the connectors it was going to be from the McMaster site, based on what the 4-pin connector was for the tilt sensor. And several months later I had this electric cylinder fail, and the replacement cylinder connected just perfectly to these new connectors that I put on the machine. So just a quick note about the connector that's on this electric cylinder. There's just 2 wires, which means that there's no electronics going on here. It just applies 12 volts to go one direction and then reverses the polarity to go the other direction. So it's okay if you put these on backwards, they just won't match what the switch is, and that's easy enough to fix. As you'll see later on, I do end up putting this together backwards. Now the sensor, on the other hand, it's a different story. You really want to pay attention to which wires go where and make sure you don't screw these up, because you could very easily end up burning out this very expensive sensor. And I think if you buy it from CAT, it's going to be several $100s. That's why I made sure to label these wires when I took them off. Once I was happy with the way the connectors were put together, I used electrical tape and taped all the way up from the connector all the way down to the wire, and just kind of made sure I really protected those wires since they are exposed to the elements and might be exposed to dirt and debris. So I went back and forth and put several layers on them. You can see it kind of really cleans them up and also protects them.
Okay, so just tried the automatic bucket load, and that appears to work. So that's good. I think I can just leave that connected for now. I think the next thing we need to do is attach these string reliefs. So that happens to comprise of pieces that I can't see because they're dark. These look exactly the same. So yep, looks like they are. So you can tell by the heat shrink that that's what was living in here. So let's just assume that's what's going on. And I'm also going to add a little tape to these because it'll just help weather seal.
So after I got these connected, I decided I wanted to protect these a little better. So what I ended up doing is using some silicone tape and just wrapping the entire connector. Now this stuff is great because it mainly just sticks to itself, but man, once it sticks to itself, it is on there for good. So just be careful with that. Any tangles, they're pretty much ruined that section of the tape. What's great about this stuff is not only does it make a really great watertight seal, it's very easy to get off and it leaves no residue when you have to change it.
I just need to zip tie it in here, and keep in mind this is going to move, this actually moves with those pins, so as they rotate it moves down and out and then up and in. So you just need to make sure you put in enough leeway for this cable. And as it stands right now, this is the highest it'll ever be, so but keep in mind it's going to go in, so we need to make sure that we've got enough room for it to go travel that direction. This actually goes over everything to protect it. Now I think we're ready for this. You know, it's probably a good idea that I Loctite these. I always like to hand start them so you don't cross thread them. That is dope, as they say. I think the only thing I want to try to fix is this.
Okay. Keep going. Keep going. Well, this wraps up the reassembly of the front coupler. Thanks again for watching, and please remember to subscribe.
It's an intelligence test that your wife is not passing. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and turn it to start it.
Ready?
Yep.
Back up.
Oh, won't let you do it with the door open. Now you gotta go all the way off and then come back. Off, then one step, and then the next. You gotta give it a second. Is it on the, what screen is it?
Now it's logged in.
Okay, now again.
One more?
Yep. Put your benches down. There you go. Wait for it to come to the screen.
Okay, I'm logged in.
Okay.